Our next two leaders have worked together to revive the art of traditional voyaging and contribute to the reawakening of cultural pride throughout Polynesia. Lehua Kamalu is a native Hawaiian captain and the first woman to navigate a 2,800-mile sea voyage from Hawaii to California. Her mentor, world-renowned navigator and president of the Polynesian Voyaging Society, Nainoa Thompson, shared his compelling interpretation of ocean rights.
The ocean is 70% of the surface of the earth, and it is the cradle and creation of life. And what it's taught us is the vital need to understand nature and to reconnect to it in a very deep way. And our voyaging is our pathway to do that.
So the work of the Polynesian Voyaging Society works to perpetuate the art and science of Polynesian wayfinding and non-instrument navigation. The practice of navigation really demands that you are in tune with what's going on with the natural world around you. It encourages everyone to study, how systems work, how the weather is behaving, what's going on in the ocean, animal life, the skies above, the celestial sphere. And we work towards a vision of Mālama Honua, and that means to care for the earth, protecting it, conserving it, and making sure that it's here for many generations to come.
I would best describe us as part of a movement of voyaging canoes that are rediscovering the heritage and beginning to re-understand how incredible their ancestors were, because they were the greatest navigators on the face of the earth. The Polynesian Voyaging launched the first deep-sea voyaging canoe in modern times 47 years ago, and it sailed. We're approaching 300,000 miles of sailing over 47 years.
So voyaging hasn't been around continuously since its inception. It was something that had to be revived, and we had to relearn a lot about the practice of navigation. And in this pathway, we came to a better understanding of our own origins, our genealogical roots.
We've been trained by the greatest navigator on the earth. Everybody calls him Mao because he's considered to be fierce about his love for his navigation. He taught us the star compass, this ocean horizon that's filled with the rising and setting stars. You only know where you are on the ocean by memorizing where you come from. And that means what you're memorizing is nature. Voyaging is, in my world, the most intense, the most immersion school in understanding nature in its systems, from the heavens to atmosphere, to the oceans, to life in the sea, life in the air. And this star compass is a place to memorize all of these components of navigation. My teacher taught us that when we were sailing with him, first of all, he's up 22 hours a day. And in that day, he'll make 5,000 observations of what nature shows him. He'll make 500 choices in a single day to put it onto the star compass about whether it's turning course, whether it's sheeting, whether it's rebalancing, whether it's steering. So imagine that every one of us as human beings make choices every day. Let's say if the 8 billion residents of planet Earth would make collectively 500 choices a day, that's 4 trillion human choices every day. What if they were good ones? That's our job, is to learn, discover, and help shape good decisions by humanity to take care of this earth.
In 2014, we left Hawaii with this vision of Mālama Honua and this message. We really hoped that it would resonate and that we would learn some lessons about how we could better do it here in Hawaii, and of course share what steps we were taking. It was incredibly successful in that I don't think we realized how many people were going to show up at the dock when our canoes arrived, how many people were going to reach out, even from places we didn't even get to sail to say, we hear the message that you're sharing and we're doing it. We're trying to do it. How do we get more involved? And it was pretty overwhelming, and we realized there is a whole voyage going on that is well beyond the decks of our canoes. And we really had to take this challenge since returning home in 2017 of how to better understand what that larger canoe is. And we've been calling it the third canoe. We've really tried to develop a better way for people to engage with the lessons, the stories, the educational resources that come out. We know that our children are going to be, the very face of the future. How do we start to embed these lessons in their learning communities as well. And so we've been constructing more virtual ways of getting involved with the canoe to be able to see what's happening on deck, but also to get the background of why we might go to a place, how we might do so, and also highlight the lessons.
We're going to be sailing on a voyage that's longer in distance and time is the circumnavigation of the Pacific. All terrestrial lands on the Earth can fit in the Pacific Oceans with a room to spare. It's massive. It's going to be 42 months, 41,000 miles, 47 countries, and we're calling archipelagos underwater as countries into their own and giving them their identity and the need for them to be protected. And we're going to be engaging with maybe 100 to 200 indigenous territories.
Through our ability to share what happens on deck, what happens through the lens of the voyagers and navigators, we hope gives people an insight into the way that this natural world really depends on us for its protection.
There is a name that is known in the Pacific, and the name is known here in Hawaii. It's called Keala Ikahiki. It's called the pathway to Tahiti and the pathway back from Tahiti. This is an ancestral road that is 2,000 years old. And so it's this name that we forgot so much, but there's this multi-generations are doing research now. Young people with elders are trying to uncover through the old newspapers, the old chants, the creation chant, and bringing together the poets and the chanters, the scientists, the archivists, and they're starting to unpeel all the layers of forgetting. And they're uncovering this amazing sea road that's 2,000 years old. That sea road should have rights. And you know, this issue about rights, who decides that? The first thing we got to do, ourselves got to decide that. This is in the wake of our ancestors. This is our road, and we're going to sail it. We're going to name it. We're going to believe in it. We're going to fight for it, and we're never going to give it up. But what's more important than the question about should the oceans have rights? The bigger question, should children have rights to a future that's good enough for them? That's the question. And I'll tell you, from my humble opinion, you don't protect the oceans, you take away that right.